54.
Oh, you said you went live. So hello, Internet.
Yes.
Yes. Hello, Internet.
Hello,
Tory.
We just started streaming.
So don't say my password out loud. Is that what you're saying?
No, say it out loud.
Yeah.
Twice in succession.
Interestingly enough, it's the same password I use in my luggage.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Spaceballs reference. You're welcome, Internet. All right, Jared, here's your rundown.
Thank you.
That's last week's rundown. Here's this week's rundown. And you're going to need to log in as you, Jared.
Yes.
For the chat room.
I'll go ahead and do that right now. Thank you, sir.
Can I get Jared mic check?
What's up?
Jared mic check.
Hello. How you doing, Dada? Hello, Tory. Hello, everyone. This morning.
You're hot this week.
That's good.
Hey, everyday astronaut, you're.
I don't have a problem with that. I think I'm hot every week.
Yes.
Your camera's still a little hot. Are you able to do anything, or do you not have the granularity necessary to?
I have just the
step
most
here?
What's up?
basic, sad controls.
Okay, we'll get you a mage well. We'll get you a mage well, and then a camera that can deal with that.
Sounds good.
All right. Hello, everyone in the chat room. How are you doing today?
I'm not in the chat room.
That's a bad astronaut. 4 minutes out.
Wait. So,
Don't forget to save often. You're running beta software.
ooh.
Yeah. Well, when we moved to 4K, the video playback system was like, mostly. So, anytime you guys heard the audio starting to stutter, that was the playback system basically going, maybe. So we upgraded to the new version, and it's much happier, but it's beta, and so once in a while it goes, I'm not going to anymore. Jared, could you look at my camera, please? Oh, we do not have enough hair room. Normally it's headroom, but in your case it's hair room.
Yeah. The mohawk's getting big.
Yeah,
So-
it is. Little aerodynamics.
The mohawk is back.
At this camera, please. Thank you.
All right.
You won't be using this camera.
Yeah. No, I don't intend to use that one today. Oh, my cup. Thank you so much.
3 minutes. 3 minutes. I feel like we should have a countdown clock on the screen. That'd be kind of fun. You did? Well, now that it's my idea, it's a good one. That's how that works.
I hate you.
I know. All right. There are those who call him Tim. Are you still trying to? Oh, that's.
There we
Oh,
go.
I see. I see what it is. It's an automatic aperture. It's that window.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the window. So if I move too much, it's just going to be like, whoop, and then whoop.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
All right, copy. We'll deal somehow. Magic.
I need an H on my forehead. Why is that?
Oh,
NASA?
for because of Red Dwarf.
Do we want
Is that a Red Dwarf joke?
Tory photobombing over Carrie-Ann's shoulder the whole news?
It is a little hilarious, but there you go. Just with the way, Internet. Here's a fun little Easter
Potato.
egg. Here's an Easter egg. The way the control room is set up, because we don't have the Apollo features in the windows yet. If Carrie-Ann leans slightly to her right, you can see Tory peeking.
My left.
Your left? Oh, your left. You can see Tory. That won't happen when Apollo goes in the windows, but yeah. When's that happening again, Donna? No, that's what I thought. 1 minute to show.
Do you want me to move this?
December.
I know you can.
No,
move
keep that there. It's
it.
so great. 'cause
Add
I
the
can
illusion. Yeah.
It's an illusion,
Illusions, Michael.
Michael.
I imagine Jared's mic needs to be muted.
Yes, probably.
Oh yeah. We'll take care of all of the magic. Did you send me Rocket Road Trip stuff?
Yes, there should be Rocket Road Trip in the media for the...
I didn't get a note on it. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
We'll do it in After Dark.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Everybody ready?
Depends. Who's opening?
You should open. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. You know, how's the show gonna work?
Right.
That minor details.
No,
You
I
do.
mean-
Is that okay?
Nobody cares but me. It's fine.
Let's do this thing.
Hello and welcome to Orbit 10, Episode 9. I am Carrie Ann, and of course with me is Benjamin and everyday astronaut Tim, and another Tim Dutta back there, and all other sorts of fun, interesting things happening. In any case, though, before we get started, I do want to give a huge shout out to our Escape Velocity patrons. These are the people who've donated given us $10 or more for this particular segment, this particular episode. And if you would like to get your name in the show, always feel free to head over to patreon.com/TMRO. I'm speaking very quickly because we have so many huge, amazing, wonderful things to talk about.
This was a great week for space nerds.
This week was crazy.
This is a big one.
The entire the cosmos was like, you care about the moon again.
Right. Oh, my goodness. Okay, but first of all, we need to start off with the launches. We have a couple of things, which Rocket Road Trip, we said we would talk about it after dark if you missed that with our pre-show thing going on. But, Ben, tell us a little bit about our Atlas launch.
Well, first off, we have a NROL 79 launch. That's National Reconnaissance Office. This is on an Atlas V rocket. Check it out.
3, 2, we have ignition at the RD-180 main engine. 1, liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket carrying the NROL 79 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office.
That launched March 1st at 1749 Coordinated Universal Time out of Vandenberg, and that is in the 401 configuration, meaning 4-meter fairing, no solid strapped to the side, and one upper stage engine. That was the 70th Atlas V launch, and it was carrying, as they mentioned, NROL 79, which is a Naval Ocean Surveillance System, or NOS. It's a spy satellite for the NRO, and that's about all the more information you're going to get on one of the U.S. spy satellites.
But I mean, look at that. Particularly for a Vandenberg launch, that is like the clearest launch I've seen out of there.
To be fair, Vandenberg
Hashtag
launches...
maybe ever.
Yeah, Vandenberg launches are 50-50. They'll either be beautiful and clear, and you get the ocean in the background and those gorgeous mountains and hills, or covered in fog. You're never entirely sure which one you're going to get out of Vandy. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous launch. Next up, surprise launch from China. This is the KT-2 launch. This happened March 2nd at 23:53. As per usual, not a lot of footage from China, but we'll give you what we got. There you go. This is a brand new rocket. It's a new solid rocket for China. As I mentioned, it's known as the KT-2. It's a small sat launcher, adding to their, at this point, ginormous fleet of small sat launchers. And of course, the payload was a small sat known as TK-1, and it will be, quote, used for remote sensing, telecommunications, and experiments in mini satellite-based technologies. So there you go. Those were the two launches from this last week.
That is so great.
Yeah.
And
I feel like they're just, instead of, you know how a lot of organizations just build a rocket and then they like standardize on it, they build a bunch of them. I feel like China is just like building a new rocket for every launch. They're just like, let's start over from scratch and build a new rocket. They have so many different rockets at this point.
you need to iterate. Like you need,
I
right?
guess.
You need to go.
I
That
guess.
one wasn't quite right. I need to fix this. It's just a little bit.
They're just throwing rockets at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, that one was cool. Let's try this one, though.
I have no qualms with that. As far as I'm concerned, if you can do it, do it. Like
They're doing it.
They're
They're doing it.
Full-blown Kerbal. They
Right.
are Kerbal.
Full-blown
Yes,
Kerbal.
that's exactly it.
Full-blown Kerbal. That's
yes,
what we need. Yeah.
that's totally what we need. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Tim, start us off with some news that I don't think anybody was really expecting.
No. Okay. For those of you that don't know, on Sunday, Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, tweeted randomly, like in the middle of the afternoon, something like, announcement tomorrow at 1 p.m. And that's not something he typically does for SpaceX. And so everyone kind of was sitting there going, speculating what it'll be. A lot of people were thinking spacesuits or, something about Mars or something. And out of the blue, he announces that they have 2 people who have paid a significant down payment to fly around the moon at the end of 2018. Absolutely mind-blowing. I don't think anyone saw this coming. So what they ended up doing, so they'll be taking their Crew Dragon capsule, which should be testing this year. At the end of this year, should be doing a crewless, just a demo mission. And then they will be putting it on top of their Falcon Heavy, which should be flying here sometime hopefully this year. It needs to have a few flights on it, I think, before we consider putting humans on board. And that Falcon Heavy will be able to push a Crew Dragon capsule out to a nice little free return trajectory around the moon and back, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. So yeah, I mean, that's really about all the details we have at this point. But some of the fun things would be, if it does fly at the end of 2018, it could coincide with the 50th anniversary of Apollo 8, which Apollo 8 was a cislunar flight around the moon. So that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And worst goes to worst, if it goes until the next summer, it could coincide with the Apollo 11 50th anniversary as well. So hopefully, between those 2, I'm really hoping that, one of them ends up happening.
Yeah.
I want it so bad. I think that's going to be
really cool. Also, just really quickly, for those of us who weren't alive at the time, note the significance of how closely Apollo 8 and Apollo 11 were, right?
Well, it wasn't like they were back to back.
No, but I mean, like within 6 months, we did some like really amazing, major, crazy pants things. Crazy pants. You're welcome.
7 months.
Yeah, that's huge.
We had Apollo 8, Apollo 9, Apollo 10, and Apollo 11 within 7 months.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Well, we did the entire lunar program in like under a decade.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, but like, hey, we barely got humans up. Hey, we threw them around the moon. Hey, we got them on the moon. Like
we threw them around the moon. No, and actually, one big difference is, remember, Apollo 8 did enter lunar orbit.
Yeah.
So it actually went into a lunar orbit, and I don't believe Gray Dragon is doing that. I don't know what that's what we're calling it.
Gray Dragon is doing a free return trajectory, which means it doesn't have enough delta V most likely to put itself into lunar orbit, and then again break lunar orbit in order to make it back to Earth. So it's just doing a clean little figure-8 pattern, which will still be really cool. And rumor has it it'll be the furthest away actually from Earth that people will have ever been. So they're going to probably break Apollo 13's record, which I think was, I don't quite remember, something like 240 or 50,000 miles. And it sounds like they're going to go ways beyond that even, which will be really, really cool.
Nice. Not that wasn't a huge announcement. But the origin
Jeff
was also
Bezos was like, yeah, cool, us too.
a lot of stuff. This isn't really.
I love this picture of Jeff Bezos too.
Yes.
It's all like, actually, kind of want that
It's
blue
super
origin.
BA.
I want the blue coat is what I want. They've been circulating a 7-page white paper to NASA leadership and the President Trump transition team, talking about developing a lunar spacecraft and lander. They are planning a blue moon lunar lander at the Shackleton crater on the moon's south pole. That specific spot is important because there is water, ideally frozen, because it's kind of like on the cusp of sunlight and not sunlight.
Darkness?
I was going to say moonlight, but that doesn't apply there.
We'll just say moonlight. It sounds way better that way.
Sun and darkness. And so they'll have frozen water, but they'll be close enough where they can use the solar power for the photovoltaics and sun and power generation and
Love
whatnot. They're going to first off deliver gear for experiments, cargoes, and HABs, hopefully by the mid-2020. Now, what I didn't get clarification on is that like June 2020, or do they mean 2025? I assume.
Oh, like the mid-2020s?
It said mid-2020.
Decade or year.
Exactly. So I'm going to go with mid-2020 because it's more ambitious and I want us to go there faster.
It sounds way cooler.
But I have no idea. So one of the two. I mean, still 2025 or 2020. That's still pretty close.
Yeah.
Here's the neat thing.
It's happening.
They're developing the technology for these landers now. So they're saying the new Shepard vehicle that they've got could be used as the kind of the landing technology for landing on the moon. So they're kind of all the stuff they're testing here on Earth, they can then reuse on the moon.
Sure.
And then Jeff Bezos did have a couple of quotes out of this. The first one being, "A permanently inhabited lunar settlement is a difficult and worthy objective. I sense a lot of people are excited about this." He also said, "Blue Moon is all about cost-effective delivery of mass to the surface of the moon." any credible first lunar settlement will require that capability. And one could argue, as we've had Dave Masson on the show multiple times saying, moon first before Mars, you can use the moon as a launching post for Mars. So he could be setting up some pretty cool stuff for going to Mars in the future.
Yeah. Really cool.
Very much so. Yeah, something not quite as cool as that. Do you want me to talk about what I was going to talk about next?
Yes, please.
Jeez. Oh, after talking about 2 awesome moon missions, it's time to talk about safety.
Yes.
Everyone's
it is boring, but
everyone's
it's
favorite topic.
like nobody wants anybody to get hurt in all of these things. Like we all we
true.
want is to
So-
succeed. So safety's part of that.
So part of the safety thing is traditionally there's literally been a guy kind of sitting there with his hand over a button. Hopefully the button has like a cover on it or something. But he's sitting there waiting and watching the trajectory of each rocket launch and making sure that, if that rocket goes off course and looks like it's going to, do anything that could remotely come into contact with property or humans, they go boom and it goes boomy, right? And that's a termination system, a flight termination system. Well, recently, the Air Force has been giving out. They basically developed an autonomous flight safety system, or AFSS. And what this does is it's actually been flying on the backup system as a secondary system to a lot of rockets lately. But for the first time on SpaceX's CRS-10, it was the primary system. And what this is a 100% automated version of that flight termination system. So if it has a lot of redundant parts inside it, different GPS trackers and inertial movement units, or things that can sense which direction it's going. And if it senses that something is wrong and it's outside of its parameter, it will blow itself up. And that's actually a really good, I know that to me that sounds like a thing that could fail really, but this is to prevent, it's basically an abundance of caution. And another thing you might say is, why are they worrying about this right now? Well, it's really hard to track as spacecraft get more and more advanced and as they get more and more complicated, such as the Falcon Heavy. It will have 3 cores flying and a second stage flying. And if you have to track all 4 of those moving parts through the sky, you better have some autonomous system that's paying attention, a lot closer attention than a human could,
At least it's faster to make those calculations that much faster.
So actually, adding to that, I actually know that as AFTS, so Autonomous Flight Termination System. So I don't know if there are 2 different acronyms for the same thing, or because the traditional termination system is known as FTS, Flight Termination System. I don't know if they just switched the acronym, if they're both, or what the deal is. But
That's a great
you may hear it
question.
referred to as AFTS as well. One other thing, and one of the reasons this is important, is specifically looking at the East Coast launch sites. We've got a lot of different people trying to launch out of there. We've got ULA with the Atlas Delta and soon Vulcan. We've got SpaceX with their Falcon rockets. Then we've got Blue Origin going to start launching out of there. I forgot which slick they have, Slick 30. Then we've got, I don't remember if I mentioned Space Launch System going to start launching out of there. And then there was another small sat launcher that just announced launching out of there.
Yes.
If the range needed to track and perform flight termination on every single one of those launchers, we would have contention in the turnaround time necessary to launch from provider A to provider B, provider C. So moving to AFTS allows the range to actually support a greater number of launches, which would be very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Ben.
Football.
Why don't we? There was some more news.
More news. We'll end with this one. Virgin Galactic is breaking up. It sounds bad.
It does.
It's actually not. It's not bad. It's actually pretty cool.
it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. They're splitting the company right now. There's the Spaceship Company and Virgin Galactic. The Spaceship Company makes the spaceships. Virgin Galactic will then fly and operate said spaceships. Well, now there are going to be 2 different operating companies. One is Virgin Galactic, and the second is going to be Virgin Orbit. Virgin Orbit is basically taking their Launcher One program and moving it into its own company. So there you see, that's actually Cosmic Girl. That is a Boeing 747 that has been repainted. It's from Virgin Atlantic. They repainted it with the Virgin Galactic, soon-to-be Virgin Orbit logo. And off of that is what they will drop Launcher One from. Now, George Whitesides, who is currently the CEO of Virgin Galactic, will remain CEO of both companies. So he's CEO of Virgin Galactic and of Virgin Orbit. And then Dan Hart, who's a veteran Boeing executive, will become Virgin Orbit's president. And then you can see the 747 Cosmic Girl dropping Launcher One.
That's awesome.
The target price of one of those launches, by the way, is below $10 million per flight, and it's going to be able to loft 200 kilograms, which is about 440 pounds, to low Earth orbit. And they're hoping to debut fly this in the end of this year, 2017. So that'll be really
Sweet.
cool. Set the timers to December 31st.
Oh, that's just
Come on, that's
mean.
how the space industry goes.
The whole industry, it feels like sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness.
That's very
Okay,
cool.
that was great, you guys. We had some really great news.
Yeah.
That was awesome. We covered some really big things, really exciting things, and so I feel good about this. You?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So
yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and head into break, and when we come back, our very own Jared Head has a great interview coming up with the one and only Tory Bruno. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. Nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving, the heat keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to Tomorrow. Now, before we get started with our interview with Tory Bruno, the CEO of United Launch Alliance, we first want to thank our patrons of Tomorrow of the Escape Velocity variety. These folks are giving us $10 or more per episode. And in addition to that, we also want to thank our Orbital variety folks. These folks are giving us $5 or more per episode. And if you would like to help crowdfund the shows of tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. Well, this is it, everybody. We've been waiting a very long time to bring you on Mr. Bruno, the CEO of United Launch Alliance. Just a little bit of background about yourself. You served as the Vice President and General Manager of the Lockheed Martin Strategic and Missile Defense Systems. You joined ULA on August 12th, 2014, and you've been there for just about 3 years. Well, you've been at Lockheed Martin for over 30 years, since 1984. You have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo, and you've also written 2 books, very interestingly, about the Knights Templar as organization for management, which is pretty interesting. So, Tory, welcome to Tomorrow, and welcome to our observation deck.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here, and I got to say, I love that news report. I'm all jazzed and excited now.
Yeah, it's always exciting when we've got so much to talk about, and that's been one of the great things over the past couple of years. Is that it seems like every week we get more and more to talk about. So speaking of talking about, let's talk a little bit about you to go ahead and get the interview started off. You're the CEO of United Launch Alliance, one of the biggest aerospace companies here in the United States and in the world. And what is your day-to-day like at United Launch Alliance?
Oh, a typical day at ULA? Sure, but I'm going to tell you, but before I do that, I think we have to take a moment and acknowledge your hair.
Oh, yes, if you'd like to.
That is awesome.
Yes, it's pretty.
What do you think?
It's
could I sport that? Would it work for me?
I think you could. And what's one of the cool things is that you'll notice it's an aerodynamic feature, so it ends up stabilizing you as you walk. So
Yeah, turbulent flow.
yeah, very good.
Well, yeah, so typical day for me at ULA. So when I'm here, when I'm in Colorado, where headquarters is, because I do travel a lot, it starts early. I'll wake up at, anywhere between 3 and 4 a.m. The alarm clock never goes off, because it's, there's space happening, and you just sort of wake up and you want to get going. I'll come into the office. I usually get there before a lot of other folks, and I'll catch up on some paperwork and stuff. But then we start the day with first looking at the manifest, what launches are coming up, what is the team working on, do they have everything they need to be able to solve whatever problem might be on the pad or any issue that they're trying to work. And then we'll typically go off and we'll work on our strategy. We always have that North Star in focus. Where are we trying to go to really change the future of space, transform our company, make things like our revolutionary ACES upper stage happen? That gets talked about every single day. Then we'll work with our people. We'll have, maybe a skip level meeting. I should probably explain what that is.
Sure. Go ahead.
About once a week, certainly maybe 2-3 times a month at a minimum, I like to bring folks in to see me who don't work directly for me. And so it might be a group of new hires. It could be a group of, frontline managers, people who are in the organization but would not normally see me or work directly for me. And we close the door, we get about a dozen of them in the room. I sit back and I say, okay, it's a skip level meeting. You have to do all the work. What do you guys want to talk about? You can ask me anything. You can tell me anything you think I should be the CEO. And then they lead the conversation.
Interesting. Yeah, sounds like a pretty good organization that you've got going. So, speaking of that, what's your philosophy in running an aerospace company? Because there's many different approaches that you can take. So, what's your philosophy on it?
Well, sure. Some people think that an aerospace company is all about technology, and there's certainly truth to that. The technological things that we do are so far above and beyond what any other industry requires. But the secret is, it's not actually about the technology, it's about the people. A company like ours, any true aerospace company, the people are the most precious asset. It is all about the people. It's about their knowledge, their dedication, and their commitment to the mission.
What do you feel is interesting about working with people in aerospace? What's the overarching theme that you see with people in aerospace?
Well, there's all kinds of interesting things. I mean, first off, you get to work with some of the smartest people on the planet, and it's inspiring to be around them. Even, your interns and your entry-level people, they bring such an energy and commitment. Everybody cares about the mission really deeply. And then, I'll just share that in our industry, there is probably a higher, sort of coefficient of eccentricity than maybe in other businesses.
Yeah, just a little bit sometimes with that. I know I'm a recovering aerospace engineer, so it's definitely one of those things I'm very well familiar with in that. So sort of changing gears a little bit to talk a little bit more about the technical aspects of things. What can you tell us about your upcoming Vulcan launch system?
Vulcan's pretty exciting. So we're starting with the booster, which replaces the venerable RD-180 sort of Russian rocket engine with an American engine using the same very advanced thermodynamic cycle, but much more producible, much lower cost. And that rocket, that booster, which is more powerful than what we have on Atlas today and more affordable, also supports the ACES upper stage that will go on that rocket in the next step.
So is Vulcan still in its design phase, or is it moving towards production?
So both. So when you go through the life cycle of designing a rocket, there's these big milestones. You'll be familiar with them as an aerospace engineer, but the first major one is called the preliminary design review. That happened a year ago. We're coming up on a critical design review this year. And at that point, you've really nailed down your design and you're confident to release everything to manufacturing. However, some items take so long to build that they have been in development for a long time and they've already begun being produced. And a great example would be Blue Origin's BE-4 rocket engine that will replace the RD-180.
Now, what makes Vulcan a superior choice to your current launch vehicles? Is it just the power and the lifting capacity, or is there something else involved in it that makes it better than what you've currently got?
Sure, it's a combination of things. So it is a more powerful rocket. It's a rocket that is easier to produce and costs less to manufacture. It is also quicker to assemble at the launch site, integrate with a spacecraft and put into space. As we've been designing it, we've brought sort of the latest techniques and philosophies around design, and we are using a process we call design for manufacturing and assembly. And so we'll have our engineering teams, after they've built the basic architecture rocket, zero in these, we call them sprints, on a specific subsystem. They'll get it designed pretty well, they'll be happy with it, then they race down to the factory or to the launch site where we have mock-ups made either additively manufactured or even just plywood. We'll get the techs, people who build and launch them, they'll work together, and sometimes they'll throw the whole design out and they'll come up with a new one that's very easy to put together, going to be very affordable, and then they'll move on to the next system. And so it's a whole philosophy around having a rocket that is more flexible, can launch very easily a very wide spectrum of spacecraft at a much lower cost, and of course it's easier to put together, it's more reliable, you're less likely to make a mistake when you assemble it. It's just that whole universe.
Now, I know from working on my own projects that there's always challenges that come up and obstacles to overcome. So what are some of the challenges that you've had to come up with and face on your own while developing Vulcan?
Well, sure. We're going to have a pretty large content of additively manufactured hardware. So we have had to figure out which parts are appropriate for that. Everything on the rocket isn't actually a good candidate for additive manufacturing. So you have to pick the right ones. The next thing that's a challenge just about that one particular element is that additively manufactured parts are so new, there are not big databases of material properties and strengths and erosion rates. So you really have to develop that as you go. If you use a conventional material, it's a completely different story. There's a handbook, you can pull it off the shelf, there's standards. You don't have that with AM. And then, of course, there's the engine itself. We're carrying these two engines along in parallel until we make our down selection. They use different propellants, and that has a fundamental impact on the design of the booster itself. So we're having to bring both designs along. One is much farther along than the other, but keeping the ability to switch back if we have to, and then also maintaining all the hooks and connections to be able to put that ACES upper stage on top of the booster.
Yeah, and to talk a little bit about that, reusability is kind of the big buzzword in spaceflight right now. It's if you want to get a lot of people talking about you just say the word reusability, and that's the key way to do it.
Okay, reusability.
Yes. So how's Vulcan going to be incorporating reusability?
Yeah, so there's two things. There's a reusability element to the booster itself, which is much along the same kind of lines as what other people are trying to accomplish in terms of economics. Can we make this simply less expensive to launch a rocket? And so we've taken a little bit different track than some of the other folks. We really kind of put, those systems engineering lenses on and said, okay, you could fly back the whole booster. There's, good reasons to do that. And once you get the hang of it, it's going to save you money. But let's take another broader look at it. And when we did, we said, well, it turns out that 2/3 of the price of that thing is literally one part. It's the rocket engine. And so our approach to reusability on the booster is to just capture the engine itself, sever it from the booster, let it re-enter behind an inflatable heat shield that we're developing together with NASA. They're producing it for the next Mars mission. Pop some parachutes, scoop it up with an aircraft, and take it home, just like the old Corona space satellite. And the advantages of that approach that we like are the fact that you don't have to save any propellant to fly home with. So you get to do it every single time. No spacecraft would be so heavy that you weren't able to reuse it. And then you don't have to capture the parts of the booster that are inexpensive and yet difficult to refurbish and recover. But that's kind of mundane. I mean, as cool as that is, the part that's really exciting is the upper stage. That's a revolution. ACES is going to change everything about how we go to space and what we're able to do there, because it will be a fully reusable, refuelable in-space stage that will become the pickup truck of space. We will stop deorbiting our upper stage. We'll leave it there every time we take a primary mission up, gas it up, and begin building a fleet, a transportation system that will allow us to really develop lunar space.
So ESL Burndy, one of our chat room members, has a really good question, which is that Vulcan is going to be, he asked that Vulcan is going to fly with a Centaur upper stage on the first flight. So when can we expect ACES to fly?
So ACES will fly about 2022, 2023. Could fly faster. In fact, if we did not need to replace the Russian rocket, we'd probably be doing ACES first. But since most of the money is coming privately, we're doing them kind of in series. First, the booster, which will fly with Vulcan Centaur, and then we'll do ACES. We'll retire Centaur, and Centaur will never fly again.
So what are some of the difficulties that you're having to deal with ACES? Because this is something that truly nobody really has ever done before, which is refueling in space. So what are some of the things that you have to deal with in that?
Sure. I'd put them in two buckets. There's technology, and then there's culture and acceptance, because it's so radically different in terms of what can be done. So let me start with the technology piece. The fundamental idea behind ACES that allows it to do what it's going to do, which is to have a tremendously long lifespan in space, is that we capture our propellants. See, our upper stage is a cryogenic upper stage, unlike many others, which means that the propellants are very, very, very cold, so cold that even in the freezing temperatures of space, they're continually boiling off. And that is what limits the life of the stage. Well, on ACES, the idea is to capture those propellants, don't waste them to space, bring them back down, put them inside a system that can use those propellants for power. So today, Centaur is a conventional stage. There's a hydrazine system for attitude control. There's a big helium farm with bottles that provide pressure inside the propellant tanks to push the propellants out through the engine. And there's long duration batteries. Well, if we can capture that boil-off propellant and make use of its energy, all that stuff goes away. We actually are developing an internal combustion engine with Roush, the race car company, that will burn hydrogen and oxygen as propellants and run a piston engine. And then that piston engine runs a heat exchanger compressor to push the propellants out through the engine so the helium goes away. We're developing a hydrogen thruster that'll replace the whole hydrazine propulsion system. And then since it's an engine, well, just hook up an alternator for power and you don't have any batteries anymore, any long duration batteries.
Now, to go back into our chat room, Jason519 has a question that I think will kind of lead into my questions about Cislunar 1000, which is that his question is, these days we usually have 6 people in orbit continually. What do you think that space-based workforce will be in 10 years?
Oh, it'll be several hundred. So this is the really exciting thing, Jared. To be alive right now when we are about to take our first bold steps for a permanent human presence beyond this planet. The caller, the texter is exactly right. It's just a handful of people. They're astronauts. They're elite folks that have trained. They're really tourists, if you will, not in the commercial sense, but they're people that visit space and are going to come home. When we are able to put this transportation system in space, we're going to be able to do economic activities in space. We're going to put businesses in space, which means jobs. So people will go to space because their job is in space and they'll live there. This will become their new home. And all of that is going to happen over the next couple of decades.
So can you explain Cislunar 1000? Because it sounds like, from my reading of what Cislunar 1000 is, that you guys are going to be helping really enable this. So what is Cislunar 1000?
Cislunar 1000 is our vision for the first 1,000 people that live and work in space. And so it's a concept where there's a transportation system. It's got nodes in it. I'm going to go build a railway to space. And then we have lots of friends and partners and colleagues that are entrepreneurs for space businesses that are going to then use that transportation system to go to space to generate wealth and jobs and really create that infrastructure that will become sort of the new frontier where people go there because they can have a better life there.
But why cislunar space? How is it economically important?
Well, it turns out that there are just tremendous resources in cislunar space. And all of the things that we think about here on Earth that are rare and therefore valuable, precious metals and rare materials and things like that, they're really only rare here on Earth because of their density. Over the millennia, they have sunk to the sort of the inner part of our planet where they're very difficult to get at and therefore very expensive. All of those materials reside in abundance on asteroids and on the moon, and because of lesser intensity of the gravity, they're basically just laying there. It's like the California gold rush where gold was laying in streams waiting to be picked up. It's like that there. There's over 1,500 near-Earth objects, asteroids, if you will, between here and the moon that have such an abundance of wealth and materials, it defies human imagination. And it turns out that, 2/3 of the energy to get anywhere in the solar system is just climbing out of the Earth's well into Leo. And once you're up there, where ACES will be building up this fleet of space trucks, it is much, much more practical to then get around between Earth and the moon and the near-Earth objects to take advantage of that tremendous, body of natural resources.
So Explorer, one of our chat room members, has a question. Do you see us mining asteroids in 10 to 20 years? So I would imagine Cislunar 1000 would definitely enable you to do that.
Absolutely. I see us prospecting the asteroids within the next 5 to 10 and mining them easily within the next 10 to 20.
So another question from our chat room from Destructor 1701 is asking, is Cislunar 1000 independent of government, or does it require some government help for you to actually do this?
Well, government absolutely plays a role. Fundamentally, it is a private commercial activity, but government plays a key role in terms of helping to establish the environment that people will operate under. The exploration that the government has already done, that NASA has done, it allows us the technologies and the understanding now commercially to go exploit this. And then there's a whole regime of legal and property rights and regulation that will need to be in place. If we're going to have a company gather investors and hire people and spend money to go out and prospect an asteroid and find just the right richest place to go mine it and bring it back and take it back to Earth, they need to be able to own that resource. They need to be able to sell it, and they need to be able to protect their mining claim. You can't have somebody else just sit back and watch until they find the richest deposits and then zoom in and try and take them at the same time. So government absolutely plays a role. There'll also be places where the government can be sort of a key anchor customer. One of the activities that will happen very early will be commercial habitats in near-Earth orbit doing research in gravity manufacturing. And so there will be opportunities for our government here in the U.S., but also other governments who would like to have the ability to expand their research footprint. That's an opportunity that will help that business get going and then attract its commercial customers.
So I'm going to take a question from our chat room from Andrew Shire and kind of modify it a little bit. He's asking about if Cislunar 1000 is mining and transportation focused, but I'm also going to add on about expanding humanity's reach to the solar system. Do you see Cislunar 1000 as something to be local, or do you see it as something to really expand out into the solar system with?
Oh, I think it's the launch pad that expands us out into the solar system. Remember what I said a few minutes ago, it takes so much energy just to get off the surface of the Earth. If you're really going to run out to Mars and back and other places in the solar system, you want to be doing a lot of that activity starting from a node that is in cislunar space. And so we're looking to see materials that are gathered in cislunar space and manufactured there to create the infrastructure that'll create that port, out to the rest of the solar system. I mean, I sort of think of it this way, if you live in the Alps, but you want to have, a shipping trade in the Mediterranean, you might want a port down on, in Italy on the coast someplace.
Yeah, good place to do it at. So is Cislunar 1000 a paper plan to get 1,000 humans living and working in space, or is this an actual reality? And if it is something that's being pursued, how soon can we see something like Cislunar 1000?
Well, I think it absolutely is a reality. We're working on the technologies that will enable it right now. I talked about some of the key of ACES, which is that fundamental enabler. We're building hardware, we're testing it, we're demonstrating the fuel transfer part of that right now at the Marshall Space Flight Center with our partners at NASA. All that is happening. But it's also starting to become a movement. Building a community of cislunar entrepreneurs about a year or two ago. And we just had a really exciting event at our headquarters in Denver about 2 weeks ago. We called this the Cislunar Marketplace Workshop, and we invited about 60 companies, 60 of these space entrepreneurs, people who want to manufacture in space, who want to mine space, all of these different activities. We brought them together at our facility, and we organized a workshop where they could sort of work on their business plans. They could identify what types of services and supply chains they might need, what type of infrastructure they might need. And then through the day, as they built that, they interacted with each other so that people suddenly discovered, well, I need this type of support. And somebody else would say, well, that's my business. That's what I want to do in space. So we need to get together and jointly build our business plan. And we're going to continue that to broaden that community, connect them to the investor sort of community. And now we're even involved with the AIAA. So AIA has jumped on this and said, we want to sponsor panels and conferences to help develop the plans, the architectures, the technologies, and the standards that all of these businesses will need.
Now, I kind of want to jump back to ACES real quick because we do have a question about it from our chat room from Chris DM. He's asking how additional fuel is going to be delivered to the ACES stages.
Sure. So it's a journey. First, we start by bringing fuel up from the surface of the Earth. So every rocket typically has some excess capacity. Once in a while, you lift a satellite that is just so heavy you can't get 1 more kilogram on there. But normally, the rocket is the rocket. And you have big satellites and you have small ones. And so we will take rockets that have a lot of excess capability and we'll bring extra fuel. And then we'll use that fuel initially to refuel the ACES stages that have gone up and stayed in space. Over time, we will move to mining water from the moon and from the asteroids to produce rocket fuel. See, I think that is really the great discovery of our time that has sort of gone largely unheralded, that water is everywhere. It's everywhere we look. At the opening of the show, people were talking about, Jeff's plan to go to the Shackleton crater where there are perpetual shadows and therefore lunar ice, frozen water. There's that elsewhere on the moon. There's that on the asteroids. There's water on Mars, and of course the poles of the moon have over 20 billion metric tons of water. And so that's where the propellant will come from. Over time, we'll shift away from bringing it out of Earth's gravity well and start picking it up there where it's much, much less expensive and we could actually economically afford to mine it, manufacture it into propellant, and then sell it. That'll be one of the first businesses, I think, gas stations in space.
So from our chat room, Caster364 is actually asking a very interesting question, which is, can you see water as a currency? Sort of like in sci-fi's The Expanse. Do you see it sort of acting as like a currency in space?
Well, sort of. I see it really as a fundamental resource that will underpin the cislunar economy. If you think about Earth is really foundational relative to fossil fuels. Fossil fuels underpin every economic activity we have on our planet here. If you think about it, there isn't anything that you've purchased that didn't involve gasoline or petroleum somewhere. If you went to the store to pick it up, you drove there in your car. It got delivered on a truck. It came from China on a ship. I mean, it's all really foundational to petroleum, to energy, whatever the source of energy is. And on Earth today, that happens to be petroleum. In cislunar space, that foundation will be water. This will be a water-based economy. And so, ice cubes will not literally be money. The economy itself will be residing on that foundation of water.
And to talk a little bit about cislunar space with one of our good friends of the show, Maston Space Systems, can you tell us a little bit about the Zeus project that you guys are working on with them?
Yeah, Maston's one of our very early cislunar marketplace partners, and we have been working with them to help create a lunar lander that would be affordable to sort of move things back and forth, because one of the transportation nodes in this future will be the Earth-Moon Lagrange point 1, which is that location in space between Earth and the Moon where the gravitational forces roughly balance, so it's sort of easy to hang out there. That'll be a depot. That'll be a train station in space. And so you're going to need shuttles to go back and forth to do economic activities on the Moon, and then ferry materials and people back up to EML-1 to get on the freight train, out to Mars or back to Earth, collect up, large quantities of manufactured goods to move to other places. And so Maston has been a partner we've worked with for a long time. We actually provided them a while back with a scrap Centaur upper stage so that they could experiment with it, and we are helping them develop that capability. Zeus is our version of a lander that could be really sort of attached to an ACES upper stage. We might do that together with them or other people or even by ourselves, but it would allow us to come down and land on the Moon. Our concept is horizontally. A lot of lunar landers want to land vertically, which is fine, but it makes the logistics of getting material and people in and out of the rocket a little bit more difficult than if it were closer to the surface.
Now, what else should we look for in ULA's future? Because you're a very rapidly evolving company now. What are some of the upcoming things that we should pay attention to?
Sure. Well, what's coming next, of course, will be offering Vulcan into the marketplace. So, we did a couple of, I think, exciting things last year that weren't really about technology. They were more about how people will get their ride to space. So we released a program we called Rapid Launch. Today, if you want to go to space, I should say yesterday because we've changed it, you buy that ride to space 3 years in advance of going there. Never shorter than 2 years, because that's how long it takes to build a rocket. And rockets are typically, built, made to order, and there is always a certain amount of customization on the rocket for your individual spacecraft. Well, we thought, golly, that makes it really hard on the people who want to go to space. They're buying their ride before their spacecraft is even done being built or designed in some cases. They're tying up a lot of money up front to do that. It's kind of a barrier. There's got to be a way to make this easier. So we figured out how to take all the customization work and move it all the way to the very end of the manufacturing process. Then we collapsed all the spans. It now takes half as long to build a rocket at ULA as it did just a couple of years ago. It only takes about a third as much time once that rocket gets out to the pad to be assembled, mated to the spacecraft, and literally go to space. We have done that part in as short as 17 days. Wow. And with the tempo we can maintain, we can fly within a week. We can launch 2 rockets within a week. So we call that rapid launch, and it means that you can buy your ride to space as close to as 3 months from your launch date. And so that's been kind of a, sort of an earthquake in the space launch industry. The other thing we did was the Rocket Builder web-based tool. It's complicated to figure out what rockets you want to fly on and how much it's going to cost and where the sort of the breakpoints are in terms of how much mass you put on your spacecraft. If you add 1 more kilogram, oops, now you have to add an SRB, and there went a bunch of millions of dollars. Or if you added 3 more centimeters to the diameter of the stowed condition, you had to hop to a more expensive payload ferry. Now people can figure all that out for themselves in real time in just a few minutes, even before they call us to decide, that they want to talk to us about a rocket. So we've done those 2 things. Will be Vulcan. Pretty soon Vulcan will be mature enough that we're going to offer it to the marketplace. It'll appear in Rocket Builder. It will continue to support rapid launch. You'll be able to buy that ride 3 months out, or, obviously 2 years, but as close as 3 months. And I think that's going to be pretty exciting. And I've got a couple of things that are going to be in Vulcan that we haven't talked about that are going to be pretty exciting, but I'm not going to tell you yet.
Yeah, just dangle the little carrot and then make sure not to get it. So, yeah, well, we look forward to hearing about those in the future. So just a few more questions before we get into our Ben standard questions with that there. Is there any... Kevin or Kay McCoy is asking that he's very interested to hear about how you use social media because you are very accessible on social media. Is there any memorable interactions, or have you hired any aerospace engineers from that, or what's it sort of like being very accessible on social media while still maintaining being a CEO at a major aerospace company?
Well, I'll say yes and yes. We absolutely have hired people as a result of that. Folks have reached out to me and told me about their passion in space, and I've encouraged them to apply or send a resume, and turns out that's a great fit. And there are people working at ULA today because of that interaction. I have had some very interesting interactions on social media. I'll start by saying it is actually me. There's no one else doing it for me, and there's nobody who sort of reviews and approves my tweets or responses before they go out. I understand that's actually pretty rare. A lot of the senior industry executives that you might, think you're hearing from or interacting with on social media, you're really not at least not directly. But when you get me, it's all me. It's real time. And, I sort of have a professional mission as a CEO to make space more accessible, but I also have a personal goal to make the industry that causes all that to happen and become possible to also be more accessible. So that's also, and largely, why I do this and why I spend so much time on it. I've had people who sort of start out with preconceived notions about our company, and they might be a little bit hostile, and I think that is the thing that frightens a lot of executives away from wanting to engage. But as long as people are, they're not swearing at me or sort of, crazy over the top, I'll talk with anybody. And more often than not, as I answer their questions and they get some facts, and their enthusiasm and their passion for space sort of takes over, and it ends up being a really positive interaction. I've had a couple of folks who I would say like me just a little bit too much, and so those were some interesting interactions, but we won't say anything more about those, I think.
All right, also from our chat room, Vogan wants to know, how easy is it to dust your rocket collection that you've got behind you?
Oh, that takes a while. You're seeing the tip of the iceberg. These are my favorite ULA rockets, but over my career, I've done over 36 different rockets. I've done hypersonic gliders, I've done lasers, I've done all kinds of things. And so that is a small fraction of the memorabilia that is here in my home as well as in my office at work.
And also from our chat room, Missy Hawk wants to know, do you play Kerbal Space Program?
I do. I love KSP.
Yeah, we always like it because it lets you do the things that you're sort of not allowed to do with rockets.
Yeah,
exactly. You can do horrible things to rockets with that game. And then in finality, basically from our entire chat room, with the dangling of the carrot with some surprises coming in from Vulcan, can you give us any hints about that, or do we just have to deal with not knowing for a little bit of time?
Oh, no more hints today.
All right, Tory, now we're going to go over just some standard questions that we have. We asked these 5 questions to all of our guests. No right or wrong answers. Just tell us exactly how you feel about it. So the first question is, Moon or Mars first?
Moon first.
All right. Would you go to space?
Absolutely. But don't tell Mrs. Bruno.
When do you think humans will first land on Mars?
Oh, just in the next few years. NASA has a real focus on Mars exploration, and I see that being carried through.
When do you think humans will set foot on the moon again?
Sooner than that.
And our final question, and my favorite question out of all of these 5, is why space?
Well, this planet that we live on is so precious, and it is a finite resource. And yet, right there, just beyond, just a few miles from where you and I are sitting right now, is a whole universe of possibilities. And space inspires us. It will be our human destiny to go there. And when we do, it will make everything here on Earth so much better.
Excellent. Well, Tory, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been fantastic, and it's been a privilege to interview you here on Tomorrow.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right. And now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and head to break, and when we come back from break, your comments from last week's show. See you soon.
We've always looked to the stars. They guide us, give us comfort, help us find our way. We see ourselves out there. When we look up, it inspires us. And we long for something we don't yet know. We yearn to go there. So, we venture forth.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not.
Many think we stopped exploring. But we know our journey didn't end. We've only just begun.
Orion is functioning perfectly at this point.
Come with us and explore tomorrow.
Hey, Tory, just wanted to thank you again for your time. We're going to continue doing the show, but if you don't want to hang out, you certainly don't have to. You're free to hang on the line if you want to. Otherwise, it was a fantastic interview. It was a whole lot of fun, and I hope we can bring you on again in the future, talk more about the future of ULA.
Oh, well, thank you. I had a ball.
Great.
And I do have to go work on the future of space, so I'm going to let you guys go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great one. All right, let's hit black. And welcome back to Tomorrow. Now, before we get started with the comments section, I did want to give a shout out to all of the patrons of Tomorrow who've adopted to make this specific segment of this episode happen. These are people who've contributed $10 or more to this specific episode. We've also got our orbital subscribers. They're people who've contributed $5 or more, and our suborbital subscribers. These are people who've contributed $2.50 or more, and they're going to get access to After Dark and all of the neat little goodies that come along with it. And we've got our ground support crew. These are people who've contributed $1 up to $2.49. To find out how you can help crowdfund the shows of tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, let's get started with comments from last week's show, which was all about you.
No, it wasn't.
Well, it was about you. It was a lot about you. How's that?
It was too much about me. Let's never do that again.
All right, Capcom.
Okay, so first comment, thankfully not about me, comes off of YouTube. This one comes from Robert Beasley Bob, which is such a great name, I'm not going to lie. It says, ugh, I hate hearing that the RS-25s are going to be expendable. Damn shame.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, those engines were high-performing Hydrolux engines designed to be reused over and over and over again. Although, to be fair, the shuttle did kind of like take them apart and then like rebuild them each time. So reused more means refurbished, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think it's important too to make sure everyone knows the RS-25 is the space shuttle main engine, and it has traditionally been reused every space shuttle mission. It would come back and there's 3 engines still attached. It's the idea
Refurbished.
of just,
I prefer the term refurbished over reused. I mean, you reuse a jet engine over and over and over again, right? You just kind of you kick it and go, okay, well, it still spins, looks good. But it seems like the space shuttle main engines, someone who worked on the space shuttle program can maybe help clarify this, which is the shuttle would land, and then what would they do to the space shuttle main engines? Is the answer they would generally let it go for maybe 5 or 10 missions, or would they pull it out, inspect it, do all this stuff, and then put it back together? My understanding is they would pull it out and inspect it. But if they didn't, if they just kind of left it intact, for 5 or 10 missions, then you're kind of in between. The tolerances of space stuff is just difficult. So,
right.
They do inspect and pull out jet engines eventually too. It's just that they do it over very long periods of time.
Right.
So, all right. Next up.
Next one also comes off of YouTube. This I did not look at this particular name, so this will be fun. I get to pronounce this on air.
Here we go. First time. Go.
Astridis Lycus? Yeah, I should have practiced that one. I'm so sorry.
I think you were close.
Somebody is definitely going to tell me how to say that. Yeah, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. Says, though, this part I can read. Bye-bye, dear Soyuz U. Hello, 1.8 times more expensive Soyuz 2.
Well, I mean, that's not fair. You need to... Okay, so more expensive isn't necessarily good, but yeah, I mean, you do need to make progress forward, and a lot of times the new thing is going to cost more until you can figure out how to bring its cost down. So, just because it's more expensive now doesn't mean that it's going to be more expensive. Oh, gosh, Soyuz U ran for 50 years? 30 years?
Well, sometimes you have to make the initial investment in order to...
long time.
For it to last longer.
Yeah.
Just...
A really long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Really long
One
time.
unit of a really long time. So
it's kind of okay.
It's not exactly fair. The new thing's probably going to be more expensive out of the gate.
We can measure. We'll start using Soyuz U as a measure of time.
Yes. That was 3 Soyuz U's.
3 Soyuz U's ago.
Fantastic.
3 Soyuz U time units. That's
it's
hard
like
to say.
saying 407 years ago, right?
All right. Next up.
Next one comes off of YouTube as well. This one comes from Rocky Boulders. OMG.
Ha! That's something you would say.
Yeah, it is. All the rockets and technology don't mean a thing if you don't nail down the quote-unquote why. Carrie Ann brought it straight to the human soul and knocked this interview out of the park. This is what takes us to the stars.
Yeah, actually, in pre-show, I was talking to Tory.
Yep.
And saying something along the same lines, which is humans can't relate to rockets. They're just too big. They're too powerful. There's nothing in our life that we deal with on a daily basis that is anything like a rocket for most people, right? There might be a few. I realize we have rocket scientists and launch artists. Launch artists in the room who do deal with rockets on a daily basis, but you are the minority, and most people just can't relate to it. So we ask everyone to tell stories that are human relatable, about other humans, that connect humans to humans, because I think those are the stories we really want to hear, like some of those challenges and some of those exciting things. So
Exactly. And not to plug Everyday Astronaut too much, but that's kind of been my whole thing, is adding that human element, and especially with the sense of scale with this stuff. You know, when you see a human next to, at the base of an Atlas V or at the base of a rocket, and you realize that they're just this little speck, and you're only seeing like 1% of the rocket. You're like, holy cow, it's just...
You're launching a 20-story building into space going 22,000 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
It's hard to fathom, and that's why those human elements help bring it into that sense of scale.
I'll say I work in the industry, and I have the opportunity to see a lot of these vehicles, on their side, and even when you see them in person in a horizontal configuration, your brain still can't fathom how large they actually are. It isn't until you're standing quite literally right next to it in its vertical orientation, and you look up at it and you go, oh, this thing's huge!
When you get dizzy looking at the top of something like that.
You can't quite see the top, you're like, whoa! I mean, it's really hard to relate. It's just really hard to relate. So yeah, I think the human side is super duper important. All right, spend too much time.
I really want to look down from the eye level with a rocket and look down and see people down at the bottom. I feel like that'd be one of those views where you just another sense of scale.
Hope you're not afraid of heights.
I'm not. I'm excited to do that someday. Stand there and look at. I think that's gonna be awesome. Yeah.
All right. Next up.
All right. Next one comes off of Facebook. This is from Charlie Fox. It says, great and unexpected interview. Yeah, I know, right? The unexpected part, not necessarily the great. Anyway, as a former Minnesotan, I'd like to hear how you two got into this and how much effort you put towards it. So much more effort on Ben's part than mine, really.
How do we get into it? That's a whole story in and of itself, right? I mean, that's a whole...
I told that story. We had other podcasts. You wanted to do this podcast.
Surprise
I said
interview
no.
with Ben.
Told you were stupid, and then I said you need me. There you go. That's the short version.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. It's pretty.
Right?
Episode 1 was terrible.
But yeah, you were also trying something completely new and different, though.
Yes,
That's not
yes,
fair.
it was.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
It's not fair. That had nothing to do with me.
Please don't watch it.
I think as anybody who produces any sort of anything, right, we all sort of feel that way about the first time of...
Your first thing, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, but that's... You learn from that. Okay, anyway. Last comment, right? Last comment, yes, comes off of YouTube. This one comes from Bobbert for him. It says...
multi-commenter. He's been on the show more than once.
Yeah. Carrion is the voice of reason amongst a band of space nerds.
Yep.
Space nerd too. Her willingness to pack it in if things get boring helps us keep the show genuinely interesting. Thank you. Like Penny from Big Bang Theory, Carrion is the outside observer who translates the high science and engineering into terms the average observer can engage with. Thank you. I wonder if the boys would have starved to death long ago without her.
Yes, I would have. That is without doubt. Also, hysterically, we took one of those Myers-Briggs
16 personalities
quizzes, and it tells you like who you're like. And
in case you have trouble relating or you don't really understand the 4-letter acronym that they give you for the most part. And one of those personalities is, in fact, Penny from Big Bang Theory. So
nailed it.
I kind of laughed.
That's crazy.
All right, everyone, that is our show this week. Next week, we've got Anita Sengupta of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, specifically NASA's Cold Lab, coming on. That's going to be an interesting and awesome conversation. So After Dark is up next. For those of you watching live, just stay tuned. It'll be happening. Otherwise, for those of you watching on demand, that'll be available to our patrons at the $2.50 or above level, or everyone else in about 4 weeks. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next week. Slow dissolve. Dirty
This song
trumpet.
is so great.
I have a note.
Okay.
A note.
Go ahead.
Hey, Carrie, what's up?
I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Mini Stoge, who was furiously tweeting out like every word that Tory was saying, which was amazing. You're Jeff Faust levels of quickness on that one. So thank you for that. And
Jeff Faust was tweeting it? Oh, no.
No, you were busy. I was talking. It's okay. You didn't have to listen. The point is, though, thank you for that. And yes, you got retweeted by ULA proper. So congrats on that. Super awesome. Actually, a couple other people in our chat room who were tweeting out things, again, that they were hearing or commenting on things that Tory was saying also got retweeted by ULA. So congrats on that, because that was really cool.
Yeah, ULA was live tweeting the interview, and that was pretty cool.
I just got their text message saying we need to wrap, and I feel bad because I don't actually know what time they sent that, because I have to not have my phone on me during the show. This was the note, which is, and what do you guys think about this? Renaming After Dark to the Gravity Bar. And that will work better when we have the Soma Bar, but just in general. Yes, no? Think about it.
Okay.
Think about it. Leave your comments in the comment area. Gravity Bar. There you go. That was my note.
Hey, I need to real quick say, awesome job, Jerry.
Yeah, that was great.
Tory, dang.
Yes.
That was great.
Tory
Seriously.
is what made it.
Tory did make it. I also want to say awesome job, Dutta, because all of those cute questions that we got up on the screen, 100% manual. Like, there was no, like, he would have to listen to you, and no one can see, but there's this laundry list of things in his rundown that you can't see that he had to be like, okay, what is Jared talking about right now? Grab it as fast as he can and bring it to air, and he did a really great job with that. I can say from experience is not easy. I loved that though. That has been my vision for this show, like Orbit 10, which is pulling those comments directly into the show. This is a social show where you're here so you can ask questions. Thank you so much for going to the social questions.
Yes.
That was amazing. Colton's chat room allowing us to push and moderate questions so that you have just kind of a focused window of things that you can concentrate on.
Thank you, Colton.
Yeah, like
seriously.
10 years, well, 9 years technically, worth of work kind of culminated to this like one show, and now I can see, I'm like, oh, hey, this is going to be, I can see where we're going, and this is going to be awesome. We're not there yet, right? We got to add a lot more automation, especially into the viewer comments and being able to pull in graphics and whatnot, but you can totally see where it's going. I hope you guys liked it.
That was
Tory,
was tasty.
That was Tory was amazing.
Yeah, Tory is.
Oh my god!
I knew Tory was going to be an awesome guy.
Oh yeah.
So, but it was just a level of awesome above the awesome that is awesome.
It's fun to see people in the industry who have the power to create change, creating change. Like really positive. Like let's put 1,000 people into Earth, Moon, space, living and working. Like now.
And
Fantastic.
I feel like he doesn't get a chance. He's not as outspoken, and he doesn't go out there making a big scene of himself. And so there's not a lot of platforms for him to talk. And he needs to do that more because he did an awesome job. He's really inspiring. He's really well spoken. He nailed it. I mean,
I just need to buy him. I need to buy him better bandwidth.
Well, it was also nice that he wasn't just super enthusiastic about it. He clearly knows his product and other people's product. Like he's able to compare and contrast very quickly on the fly without having to say, well, I mean, I'm sure other people are kind of doing something. Like he was really just on point with everything that he was saying, which was really fantastic. Because sometimes the one thing that I got out of it that I really gravitated towards was the skip level meeting. And I had never heard that term before, so it didn't mean anything to me until he explained it. And then I was like, automatically got it. I understood the concept. And then it made me feel like, oh, and that's why he has such a connection to like the ground level work that's happening right in his own company.
Yeah, my company does that too. They call it something else, but they do the same.
Right. Yeah. So you've got that sort of like, I know what the dude on ground level is doing, and I know what my ground support is doing. I know all of those different things.
It's really smart to encourage that kind of connection and get the feel for the challenges that the dude on the floor pushing rivets in the metal every day has struggles with to make it easier so that you can make access to space cheaper so you can make your product more efficiently. That's an amazing thing to do for a CEO.
I also thought it was really cool that he was just genuinely a space geek. Right? I mean, he was just genuinely, I mean, he's giddy about all of it. I mean, obviously he wants his company to succeed, but I think he's all like, from what I could tell, he seems to take a all ships rise with the tide mentality and like, let's go to space.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool.
He kerbals.
He kerbals.
Yeah.
He kerbals as well. So
He kerbals.
We do have to do an open.
Yeah, we need to get an open taken care of, and then we can go into After Dark. So,
do you want Jared to get that?
No,
or
get out.
okay.
Sorry.
Well, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, no, we should have him say, and I do an interview with Tory on the interview chair, so just to cut to that, right? Yeah, that one.
Okay, I'm going to sit back.
So then are we ending with Jared? Is Jared ending as
No,
well?
we'll have you end.
Okay.
You want to cut back?
Woo!
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, we'll cut back.
Do it and come back?
Yep.
What do I say?
What was your favorite story?
SpaceX going around the moon.
And then I'll say, no, Blue Origin's going to the moon.
Except he said around correctly.
But
Over the moon. SpaceX is over the moon.
SpaceX is over the moon for the moon.
No.
moon!
I mean, say whatever you want. Don't get me wrong. Just
Amazon.
Say whatever you want, but she wants you to turn down the cheese a little bit.
just.
All right, so you do something
I
like
know.
that.
I know. I'm sorry.
Cheese factor is at 100 all the time.
I'll say Blue Origin is also going to the moon. Jared, you'll say, I'm over the moon with an interview.
I'm over the moon with Tory Bruno.
About Tory Bruno?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fine.
It's allowed to be a little cheesy. We can have fun with it.
Of course it's cheesy. It's the moon.
Ho! Ho! Boom, boom.
Oh my God, gross.
We're never gonna get off this island.
So what am I saying? I can't remember.
I don't know. What do you want to say? So, what's his name? Tim and I. What's his name? Tim and I are doing moon things. Did you want to tie moon in as well somehow?
Yes.
Do you have an idea as to what you're going to say? All you have to do is something, Tory.
Ooh, hey, hold on. Someone said in the chat room, this is a good idea. What if you started, Blue Origins is going to the moon. I say SpaceX is going beyond the moon. And then Jared says, and I'm over the moon with an interview.
Oh, that works.
Sure. That's an accurate description, too.
And then there's Carrie Ann's shirt. That's no moon.
That's why I wore this shirt today.
And then you'll take us into the...
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And I'm over the moon with Tory Bruno in today's interview.
So coming up, Blue Origin is going to the moon, right? And
Yeah.
then you're going. Okay. Here we go. Here's number one. Number one. Coming up, Blue Origin going to the moon.
SpaceX is going beyond the moon.
And I'm over the moon with Tory Bruno in today's interview.
Oh, these moon jokes are so cheesy. All that and more coming up on this episode of Tomorrow.
That was well done. That was fantastic.
Thanks.
Oh, that just made my day.
Yep.
Oh, that was one
Carrie,
take.
that was
One take wonder
was
right there.
One take.
All
One
for
take.
you.
Do we
Oh,
like
yeah.
the word beyond, though? Or should I
Oh
be
my
saying
God,
around?
what's wrong with you?
That's all. It's just a question.
Yes,
It's
it's
not like a-
fantastic. I love it.
Okay. Boom. Done. Cut. Paste.
Ah.
Never mind. I should have gone. My
Oh, that's a
cat
great one.
is an
Explorer.
astronaut.
How
going
does
to the
one
moon.
astronaut on the moon?
Oh, it's Catstronaut. I love the Catstronaut mug. That's adorable.
Explorer says, how does one astronaut on the moon tell another astronaut that he's sorry?
He apologizes.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Boom, boom.
Chris Radcliffe says, "Got to give viewers something to complain about in the comments."
My favorite thing of all time is we will upload the show, and within 60 seconds, someone has downvoted it, which means they couldn't have even watched the show in the amount of time that they've downvoted it. Yeah. We have someone who does not like TMRO and is always like, no, on YouTube every time. Yep.
It means you're doing something right?
I guess, yeah.
Gotta have
Something like
haters.
that.
Although, to be fair, we have the reverse happen as well, where people will upvote it. I'm like, you don't even know if it's any good yet.
I watched it live.
Well, maybe they live watched it.
That's fair.
And
They have.
they know it's great. And they're like, yeah.
Were you nervous?
Huh?
Were you nervous?
Yeah.
Did you
You really
lose,
did a great job.
Did you lose the nervousness as you got like partway into the interview and he was just super easy?
As soon as Tory Bruno made the Mohawk joke, I pretty much lost the
That
nervousness.
was amazing.
And I was like, I love this man. So
Yep. He broke the ice.
Yeah.
yes.
I'm a Tory fan.
Yeah.
It's not rocket surgery. Someone said they like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Figured it was appropriate for today.
Oh, so other notes. I'll mention this on the show proper. Not next week's show, but the show after that. If you are in a time zone that is changing your clock, that's right, it's daylight saving time part of the year. Yep, if you change your clock, the show time changes for you as well. This show is always 1800 Coordinated Universal Time. Always, always, always. And it does not change its clock, which means if you change yours, the show time is changing for you. And the best part is, I couldn't tell you when it's happening because everyone's like, oh, you should just follow daylight saving time. Except that it happens at different times throughout the world and not everyone actually supports it. So, no, we're not going to do that because there's no standard on it. So the only standard is Coordinated Universal Time, and we're doing that.
That's right.
I stand with Reykjavik.
What are you whining about?
I stand with Reykjavik.
Reykjavik? What?
It's the only time zone that I can get on my phone that doesn't change, and it coordinates with UTC.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Your phone doesn't have UTC on it? Oh, your phone is weird. Yeah.
Are we broadcasting
I'm gonna-
tomorrow?
Yes, but not to the world. It's a private broadcast.
Okay.
What's tomorrow?
Are we recording it?
No.
Okay.
I wish that the phones, so like mine's in 12-hour time right now, you know, like with normal stuff. But I wish that UTC would just show in 24-hour time.
Yeah, that'd be
You know,
nice.
so I could be like American and like not American with 12 and 24 hour. Small quibs with life.
Right? First world problems.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that was... It wasn't nerve-wracking, but it was just sort of like...
I was in here furiously typing away and then like talking to Dutta, which I felt bad because Dutta had to also pay attention to the show, and me going, G20 is now live. G21, get ready with G21. Prepare, now go back to G6. G6 is now live.
It's not in the library yet, Ben. Wait.
Yeah, we can hear you. So that's how we know that happened. Good job.
G4, get ready with G4. No, G9.
The whole time I was like, is he talking? I turned to Kat, I'm like, is he talking to us? What is happening right now?
Oh, I couldn't hear it.
Good.
So I have no. Yeah.
Whew, I'm hungry too.
Yep.
Yes, Chris Radcliffe. Sounds like Tomorrow Chatter is like the Death Star battle. Yes.
Pretty much. Reminds me of that video I just saw this week of someone calling, doing the technical direction at the Oscars.
That sounds amazing.
But it was during Cuba Gooding Jr.'s speech back in the 90s. And you can see him literally just like, no, go here. No, over there. No, back to this one.
That's how a lot of them are.
It's pretty great.
I will say that is also how rocket launches are, especially during...
Wait, how is it, Ben? Because I feel like there's a lot more snapping when you're directing.
There is a lot more snapping when I'm directing.
That's funny, because the technical director was, every time he'd be like, go to 9.
Yep.
5.
Yep.
And there's
19.
There's a lot of me also, especially when you're in. There's like a moment. I have to choose my words carefully. I'll just go back out of aerospace. So I'll say like, there's a moment in live sports. There's a moment in live sports where you think you're going in one direction, so you'd be like, all right, ready, C, B, go B, ready, now back to C. It's just like lots of like, I don't know where I'm going. And camera operators are all just like, idiot.
Well, the operators themselves just stay on their own stuff, though, right? Like B's following from this direction.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I'm trying to listen to the technical director and what they're wanting.
So a little bit. It kind of depends, right? So a lot of stuff, like your overview shots are exactly that. They're going to remain overview. They're kind of your safety. Like I need to back out. Let's go to an overview, and then you'll have like kind of your emotion shots where they're, whatever's going on, there's something going on somewhere.
Sure.
They're going to be all up in on that.
Right.
Somehow. Those are the ones where you're like, you get a few of those and you're always looking for the best, like which one really pulls this moment out.
Sure.
And it's a lot of like, you think you're staged on one camera, but then this other camera just lifts up a little bit more and it's like, oh, you're like, no, I want that.
Right.
It's a lot of that.
How many hours goes into producing a show? Like this show?
Like no hours go into producing the show. No,
that's one of the reasons why. Okay, so
actually, there's quite a bit of time that goes into producing each one of these.
yeah, but much less this than it is like a space pod, for instance.
Oh yeah, so space pods are actually harder than the live shows, I think, because there's a lot of research that goes into them. Then you got to script it, you got to write it, you got to edit it. This show, I mean, yeah, we do have. I mean, it's not like we're doing this without any sort of notes or anything, right? I mean, we have pages. That's not going to work, is it? See my completely white out screen? We have pages and pages and pages of notes and like things to kind of talk about and just general data, because you're not going to remember all of the numbers off the top of your head, right? So you have the numbers available, and then we have a conversation about the numbers, and prepping all of that, prepping all of the all the videos get prepped. We add all the banners to it. There's a bit of work that goes into these shows, but man, those space pods, because they just take freaking forever.
Yeah.
Rocket Road Trip.
Oh yeah, Rocket Road Trip. You said that was, where is that? I didn't.
It should be in the media folder. I think I put it in there.
I don't remember seeing it. Is it in?
Yep.
Cool.
You got it?
Here's Rocket Road Trip.
Okay.
Maybe.
Oh no.
We're all watching together.
No, not there.
We're gonna awkwardly wait.
So, hello, all of the citizens of tomorrow.
Hi, Jared.
Are here about 2.5 miles from the launch pad at Vandenberg Air Force Base in the wonderful city of Lompoc, or Lompoc. We still haven't decided which one we're going to
What is it?
call it yet today.
I don't know.
But the land of one restroom, as most of us know it, out here.
That's true, too.
We'd like to thank
Yes.
our sponsor, Vaughn's, for allowing us to make that restroom stop today. But in all seriousness, we are, what are we now? How many? 7 minutes away from launch time. Now, this is going to be an Atlas V in the 401 configuration, meaning a 4-meter payload fairing, 0 solid motors, unfortunately. Solids are always fun to watch, but not this time. And a single engine Centaur upper stage. So the way this is going to work is that because it's a spy satellite, the payload is classified. There's been lots of speculation that these are naval observation surveillance satellites, or what are known as NOS. Of course, they won't confirm that until satellite spotters who actually do this for fun as a hobby or as a living, I guess, from other countries, eventually figure out what orbit these spacecraft are in. Because like we were talking with spy satellites, you can look at the launch site, the launch vehicle, how big the payload fairing is, determine how much that rocket can actually lift into space, and then look at the orbit, and that will tell you just how much they weighed. And then in this case, if they do see 2 spacecraft, we know that the naval observation surveillance satellites, it's a really tough one. Let's just say NOS satellites. I know we have a no acronyms policy, but we're just going to go ahead and work with NOS. Are 2 satellites that fly in formation with each other, so we'll have to see.
Oh, guys, I just got an update here, and it turns out the launch won't be happening, and instead we're going to be watching moonlights. So, sorry about that.
What? Did you just make a moonlight joke?
Yes, I did.
Get off of the screen.
There it goes. It's gonna go.
This, I love this. Right over that hill. Nope, it's gonna be right there.
Nope.
Whatever. It's kind of over there somewhere. It's fine.
That's smooth tracking. You tracked that really well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did. Damn.
Look at that.
No stabilization either. That's just straight up me. For the
On a
first
tripod, obviously, right?
Yeah. For the first 30 seconds, it's pretty stable.
Well, wait, which is hilarious considering that how still Jared cannot keep while just standing here.
Oh, rockets calm him down to get his wiggles out.
Apparently.
All right, and then I also added the Rocket Road Trip graphic into a new folder. If you want to refresh, it should be in an After Dark folder.
Somebody's asking if you felt the shockwaves.
Yes, you feel it.
It's not really a shock, it's more like sound.
Sure. How far away are you?
We were 2.5 miles from the pad.
Yeah,
Which, by the way, is closer than you can get at the Cape.
It's so freaking close.
Why do they let you get so close?
Because it's public land.
I was just saying, because they can't stop you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, crazy, right?
Neat, huh?
See, you need to move out here.
That's an area where they're like, by the way, if something goes wrong, get in your car and run.
Yeah, we've actually been told that before by some of the military people on base.
Look how beautiful that is, Jared.
That's the contrail, as it goes through 30,000 feet.
Why is it going sideways?
Because that's what it does.
Because Jared's falling over.
Because
That's
the Earth
what's
isn't
happening.
flat.
Yeah, Tim, this is why you need to move out here, man.
Yeah.
I know. I've been to a Delta II launch out at Vandenberg, and guess what I saw?
Nothing.
Delta II?
Fog?
Fog.
Yep.
That's what we.
That's probably exactly what that looked like.
There you go. And that's the nifty little graphic we created for that.
That turned out awesome.
Yeah, that's a pretty good graphic.
Kind of. That
And my
plume was
Jeep
kind of
is
crap.
there.
No, the plume is okay. The plume works really well. I forgot. So I did I did a contract and then a blur on my selection to kind of get rid of some of the edging.
Sure.
But I forgot to harden the edges of the rocket back up. So if you look at the rocket, really really closely, it's all like soft and like it's like blah.
We're a million miles away from this rocket.
Also, that's nothing like what Vandenberg looks like.
Yeah, that may or may not be.
That's
just
like New Zealand. That's like where Electron's going to launch from.
That is actually an orange Jeep, though. It's not your orange Jeep.
It's not my orange Jeep, but it is an orange Jeep.
And I pulled an everyday astronaut where I took the time to make the license plate Californian and say RRT on it, and then we sized the Jeep down to a point where
And it doesn't effing matter anymore?
No, you can't. Let's see.
Taking a page out of Tim's playbook.
Oh yeah, that was
Put
definitely
work in that won't ever be seen.
Yeah, let me see if I can add that. There you go. It's called Sure It Does. We'll give it a minute to sync over. This is the same problem we had during the live show. If it takes a second to actually I don't send it directly to the box. I actually send it to Google Drive first, and then it comes back down. All right, there you go. You should have it in a moment.
Somebody's asking where the spot is.
There you go. That says RRT on it.
Let's see. I want to see the rocket, the blurry, the non-blurry, blurry, whatever rocket.
Well, that's gonna. Hang on. Let me pull that out. I have no idea what this is gonna do.
Now I want to get that license plate.
RRT? That'd be kind of cool.
I'm guessing. Did you just take this from like a Jeep ad?
Yeah. Actually, all right. So hang on. So there is the Dada. You should have the Jeep image that is not scaled down, so you can actually read it. And then let me show you the original that I swiped it from. There
That's
you go.
my Jeep. Except that's not my actual license plate.
Right. Yeah.
Although it should be.
Casper is stretching that to fit the screen correctly, but whatever. That's a very wide Jeep, Jared.
Yeah, it is. Right, it's a sports Jeep.
You should have
wide body kit on it.
There you go. 2015 Jeep is the. You'll see the original image when Dada's able to pull it up. This is what it came out of. There you go. That's the original.
Cool.
That's stuff I've done with my Jeep.
You wanted to see. I don't actually know if I have the. I feel like I should have the.
Although sometimes it's a bit more stuck than that.
Have you gone out to Moab ever? I've seen you go to whatchamacallit desert.
Mojave.
Out there.
Yeah, I go to Mojave a lot. I have not gone to Moab yet. I don't think, even though I do have a Jeep and it is the off-road version of a Jeep Renegade, I do not believe it has the capability to handle Moab. So.
Well, there's multiple. Just for example, I took my BMW 328 to Moab and ended up going on a 2-hour-long trail that after 2 hours of basically bouldering with all-wheel drive
ruined your car? Good
yes,
God,
I have
man.
lots of video of it.
Wow, you bouldered a 3 Series.
There's a sign that says high clearance 4x4s only. I'm like, you tell me this now after driving on this thing for 2 hours because it was a shortcut according to this lady at a store. She's like, yeah, just take this road. I'm like, with the car? She's like, oh yeah. All we see out there is
fine.
Giant, like, giant stuff, and then there I am being an idiot.
All right, well, this looks poopish, but
it's an Atlas 5.
That's so funny. I love it.
With some solids.
So amazing.
Poopish. I'm gonna find that video. It is just the dumbest.
To be fair, Tim, I did once take my lowered Subaru Impreza WRX out to a dry lake and went through ruts and such, and the pickup truck that was behind me got stuck.
But wait, you didn't?
I did not.
Subi.
All-wheel drive, baby.
All right, you should have Atlas in there because he wanted to see the rocket.
I had a Scion TC, and on my final road trip with it, look at it.
Oh, there's the.
There it is.
Oh yeah, that is fuzzy as snot, isn't it?
Yeah, because I never. So the edge fuzz on the plume is fine,
right?
But not on the rocket. I should have hardened that back up, but I forgot to.
That's what she said.
The idea of the original graphic, though, is that rocket will be interchangeable. We'll just keep the plume and then drop whatever type of rocket we need up there.
Sure, but the plume isn't always the same per rocket.
It doesn't matter. I mean, for the image, it doesn't matter. That's not even Vandenberg, and it's not his car.
Whatever.
I mean, we're not even in the right country for that image.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's like California
Trying to
hasn't
stay
been that
true to
green.
the rocket geeks, okay? The plume is wrong. Fix it.
California hasn't been that green in like a decade. So
2 decades, but yeah.
Hey, look at this.
Yeah.
This is. Yeah, this was the off-roading.
Oh,
this is
my God.
That is amazing. You are crazy.
All right, hang on. Do me a favor. Turn that sideways if you can, and then Dada, get ready in. There you go. 180 degrees. Other sideways. There you go.
Oh no, my stupid phone is being.
His phone is dumb.
Hold on. Hold on.
Yep, shift, and then in preview. Watch this. All right, go ahead and bring him live. This is what we're gonna do. We have this magic power. The problem is we can bring him into the sea.
You're in outer space now.
But,
you're floating.
He's on the wall.
I think I mentioned that I know Ben will literally kill me.
If you do green screen, I will face punch you.
I want to just green screen myself and then have random rotations happening. So I'm just like floating around and I'll be in my spacesuit. I just think that's the best idea.
That is the best idea. I agree.
Well,
You should do it anyway.
Apparently, I can't make it both sideways.
Just lock your orientation, can't you?
So right. So like this, right? And then, so if I lock my orientation now, it tells me to basically go screw myself and does that cabbage.
Ah.
That's very nice of it.
Yeah.
Well, you can still hold that up, though, no?
That's fine. Forget
Yeah.
it. It was worth a shot. I thought we were going to be really cool, but we're not. No, I've given up. I've given up. You failed. You failed me.
I failed you guys.
Space Kyle says I control space and gravity. That is true.
I can tell what.
Space and gravity? Yeah, nice. Oy vey.
Oh. Yeah. Oh.
Now everyone's having this love fest because Tory's replying to everybody.
That's why.
So he
Tory's
does.
cool.
I feel bad for Tory. He does this hour-long show on a Saturday, mind you.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big thing. And then he has to. Well, he doesn't have to. But then
He doesn't have to. That's the thing.
He goes out and he also replies to all the people on social media.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like amazing.
Mini Stowed, not at this time. That will happen. Figure out the rocket from the plume. That's pretty cool. Although, to be fair, it kind of also depends on atmospheric conditions. Well, and the launch site, right? Because the Delta IV plume actually looks a little bit different between the Cape and Vandenberg. Although, you can always tell it's a Delta IV Heavy because it's on fire. Like,
That's right.
the rocket
That's just
itself
mean.
is on fire. It's amazing.
That's my favorite thing about the Delta
I can
IV.
only imagine. I want to
Yeah.
be a fly in the wall on the Launch Control Center in a Delta IV Heavy control room, just to see the faces of the guy.
Well, it's not just the Heavy; it's the Delta IV. That's what it does.
Yeah, but
it lights
the
itself
Heavy,
on fire.
The Heavy does it in a more yes, but there's just
spectacular manner.
It is so much more spectacular.
The
on
Heavy
the
does it 3 times as much.
Yeah.
That's true.
I would say there's about 3 times more fire on the Heavy.
I remember me and Dutta went to see a Delta IV Heavy launch together. This was way before. This was like a couple years before I even was on TMRO, and it was so funny because they set up that launch. They set up the engines to fire in a specific sequence to lessen the amount of catching on fire that the rocket would do. Didn't work. You could see in my photos with that long lens that there's like charring, and the charring looks like. There's lots of charring here, medium amount of charring there, low amount of charring here.
Yeah, my understanding is it did work. It just didn't work like a lot. Like it did lessen it, but
did.
not a lot.
It just made it very hilarious because you could see which engine turned on first. So that's the engine sequence.
I actually had a question that I was thinking about asking Tory in the chat, but maybe it's just common knowledge. Are their rockets orange for the same reason that is it just the insulation color, like
Yep.
of you know like a?
They're actually kind of a greenish color when they come off the line. They're not green. They're still kind of like a greenish orange, and then as they sit out in the sun, they turn that kind of bright red orange. That's why if you ever look at like shuttles or shots of the space shuttle on the pad, you can kind of tell how long it's been out on the pad based on the color of the external tank. Like if it comes out like kind of almost this yellowish, greenish, light orangish kind of almost sickly color, that means it hasn't been in a lot of sun. And then as it sits in the sun, it turns more and more and more and more and more orange.
Yep.
Now you've learned something. You're
There,
welcome.
Carrie.
Thanks.
Back.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it gets tan. It's a little suntan.
Yeah, just like what we do. You get a little tan.
It's just like, hey.
This is great because the blue makes my shirt look less yellow. I was like, I'm not going to be in the bright room today. I can wear the yellow shirt.
I think we are winding down here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, Ben, shut up. We want to leave.
I'm done.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Ben, shut up. We want to leave.
God, I hate you all.
It's a good show, though, guys. Good job. It's exciting.
Yes.
I don't know what Ben's doing.
Oh. I forgot, but he didn't.
Yeah. He told you that.
All right. All right, that's our show. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.